You are listening to the Postcast presented by the Locked On Senators podcast and the Glebe Central Pub. The Glebe Central Pub is your neighborhood pub in the heart of the Glebe. Visit them for tasty food, cold drinks, and an amazing atmosphere at 779 Bank Street. And make sure you let them know that Locked On Senators sent you. I'm Ross Levitan. With me, as always, Brandon Piller on the Postcast after a 5-2 loss to the Vancouver Canucks. And Pilsy, this game was much closer than the 5-2 score would indicate the way it was played.
Yeah, I mean, the Ottawa Senators, they started off hot, Ross. So we mentioned this in Friday's episode. We're going to see what this team has in the first 10 minutes of this game. And they started off great, and then they just had no momentum after that, I thought. I don't know, Ross. I thought the Senators kind of hung around, but they didn't really push back much after that first period. And that shorthanded goal has just been the story of this last week, hasn't it? Like, the Ottawa Senators go on a power play, and Ross, you tweeted out, all right, they're going to break that curse. They're going to score on the power play. Yes, Sonk. Not only do they not score on the power play, they get scored on yet again. And it's an incredible offensive opportunity for the Canucks, and they capitalize on it, of course. So I just thought this was a game that the Ottawa Senators, they were as sleepy as I feel right now. As you rub your eyes, you're feeling it too. We're all tired of having to do these makeup postcasts where we try to put lipstick on a pig, Ross, as this pig was not looking good for the Ottawa Senators. And it was an out-of-town scoreboard that kind of favored the Sens, and they're not able to keep up with the rest of the pack here.
Yeah, and they were giving up highlight reel goal after highlight reel goal. I mean, the defensive miscues, sure, but like Kuzmenko just finds himself wide open in the slot, does like a backhand toe drag, tucks it in. Then the shorthanded goal, you mentioned, great offensive opportunity where it's a bang-bang play. JT Miller gets the final touch. And then Dakota Joshua just absolutely seams through Nick Holden. And then Travis Hamnick tries to come over, leaves his man, still gets beat. And then Oman gets the goal backdoor there. So just some highlight reel stuff. At the end of the day, the Sens on the wrong side of it. 3-0 after the second period. And then it really felt like the hammer and nail was closing the casket at 4-0 when Sheldon Dries gets just a wrist shot over the glove, and he gets his 10th of the year. And sure, the Sens fight back 2 goals in the span of under 2 minutes with 7 minutes to play is when Giroux scored, and then Nick Holden afterwards, his 2nd of the year. Sure, they get the empty netter. They call it a power play goal. Doesn't really matter at that point. But this game was already lost by then. That's what I kind of meant where what was the title here? Make ugly loss interesting is as good as we can put this one, because it was ugly. Nobody really, I thought, had a great performance throughout. And how disappointing too. Pilsy, like you mentioned the first 10 minutes. How about the first shift? How does this game look different if Claude Giroux scores instead of hits the post on his first shift after Brady Tkachuk did great work to separate the puck twice on the forecheck?
Ross, there's 2 alternate realities. One where the Chicago Blackhawks game, Claude Giroux has an incredible chance and hits the post. If he scores that, the Sens win 5-0, I'm convinced. And then this game, similar thing. Right off the bat, Claude Giroux has so much time and space, and he's got a good shot, and he beats Demko, but hits the post. And if that one goes in and the Sens score first, I think they ride that momentum and get going. But ultimately, it's a game of inches, honestly, because if they're able to pick up that momentum, I think at least they have a better chance than they put forth in this game. But yeah, that was a tough one, Ross.
We're going to get to the game summary. We're going to find a Sen Central standout. And Pilsy, give us a tease. Tell me you have some positivity for us.
I mean, the positive thing is they play again tomorrow, Ross, and there's a chance to right this wrong. But overall, I don't have I do have a Sen Central standout, but I don't have a whole lot of positives here. For people that were hoping positive Pilsy would show up, he fell asleep in the second period, so he's snoozing right now.
Just like Martian. Tisk tisk. But we talk about this team knows how to lose, eh? Like, they either score 5 goals and blow the barn door off the side, and then there's other times where they look like they did tonight, kind of uninspired hockey. They're kind of going through the motions. You look at it, you need a big first shift down 3-0 at the start of the third period. There's not much, dump it in, and then they finally look like they're going to gather, and Shabby just dumps it in and goes, "Nah, I'm good." We'll get into all that, but let's talk about the interesting end to this game. After the 4-2 goal, I still hadn't bought in at all. But when Brady Tkachuk started storming down, looking just like he did in overtime against New York at MSG, where he pulled it backhand and went 5-hole, tried the same move on Thatcher Demko, but great save there. And if that went in, there's the other alternative reality we can live in for a moment there too.
Yeah, I mean that was definitely a good chance there, Ross. I would love to sit here and say when it was 4-2 and that chance was there that I was right in it. I had very little faith. It just seemed like the whatever the Ottawa Senators wanted to do, they weren't able to muster any momentum, and that Demko had a good night, and it was too little, too late, unfortunately.
After the Giroux post, what's your next note in the first period?
My next note is Brady, nice reverse hit on Burrows, because that happened right after. Yep, that was
By the way,
nice.
mental pretzel having a guy with the name pronounced Burrows on the Canucks again.
Yeah, it's spelt differently though. Yeah, that's definitely a weird one. And then Brady had a nice shot right after. And then Ross, I've got two asterisks beside this. I rate my notes on a 3 asterisks rating. So pretty big one, pretty big one. Chikrin all alone, and he has so much time and space. And we've talked about how lethal this guy's wrist shot is. He gets a wrist shot off, but it's a nice blocker save there. And then Brady even gets another chance shortly after. So the Sens were buzzing at that point. Like I mentioned, that was the first 10 minutes of this game. It seemed like they had opportunities to get Giroux, Chikrin in positions to score, but they just can't capitalize, unfortunately.
Yeah, and for Vancouver, got to give them credit here. They played kind of Rick Tocchet style hockey where they were heavy and they didn't want to get pushed around at home. Brady had that reverse hit early, and the next shift, JT Miller finished Tim Stützle 3 separate times. And yeah, Brady went at him at the end of that, but I thought that was a great answer for a leader on that team to be like, no, you're not coming in here and dictating how the pace and physicality of this game is going to go. And I thought that pushback carried through the game because they finished Stützle maybe 4 or 5 times hard and heavy. He took some hits. Curious to see how Timmy looks tomorrow. And even though, he got hit hard, he still leads the Senators with 22-25 played, 2 assists as well in this game. The Senators scored 2 goals. Just ho-hum from Timmy Superstar. Really sucks that the Sens fans in Vancouver, we got so many great boots on the ground and photos. The vibes were high. And we didn't even get that moment where you heard the crowd in an away building after a goal. It really did. It was too bad because we got the Zoob chant. You could tell there was a strong contingent of Sens fans, but it just sucks. This game just slipped away in an absolute hurry. Sens lose 5-2 in this game. What's your next 3 asterisks note, Pills?
My next 3 asterisks note.
How about that glove save Sogard made on Christian Wolanin?
Yep. That's definitely on one of my notes. I think my next big note, though, is the Austin Watson fight. Watson and your boy, Burrows. After Watson kind of gets a high hit on Elias Pettersson, and obviously the Canucks don't like that. And normally Waddy doesn't really fare too well in fights, but I thought this was a good back and forth. Burrows got a couple blows in. Waddy hit him with a couple rights, and then Watson ultimately gets the takedown. So by a marginal little bit there, I'll give Waddy the win. So there's a positive. All right.
Is that your positive of the game, though?
No, that is not my positive of the game.
No.
Yeah.
Hold us on the rope. We want to get brought along here. We got to finish off the scoring summary as well. And we kind of went through it in a hurry, right? The shorthanded goals where this one kind of blew up. And I know a lot of people pointing to Thomas Chabot. This is all Alex DeBrincat. Like, he has full control of that puck. And what's Chabot going to do? There's 3 guys kind of converging right in the lane that he would take back. He's better to find himself in an area that DeBrincat should be able to get the puck to in open space and start turning down the other way. I thought DeBrincat had one of his worst games of the season tonight overall.
Agreed. Yeah, I know it's the cool thing to pile up on Chabot when this team loses, but I'm not putting that one on Chabot. That one's on DeBrincat. I tend to agree with you there. Like, he just completely loses it in the neutral zone. That creates a 2-on-1. And Ross, everybody makes mistakes, but it's how you make up for those mistakes. And his way to make up for this mistake was to completely dive out of the play. Like, I don't think you could have removed yourself from the play in a more effective manner than Alex DeBrincat does on that one. Like, he's just gone. And then it's like Miller, and I forget who he's on the 2-on-1 with there, but they just have all day to play back and forth. And Sogard, like, at that point, he might as well just either do the what's the goalie, the David Leggio, where he just knocks the net over. He's like, screw this, I'm not playing. Either do that or just move aside and let them score so you don't have any sort of injury risk there, because that one's going in for sure. So no chance for Soki on that one.
Yeah, the term I used was sprawled out for Alex DeBrincat defending that 2-on-1 rush for the Vancouver Canucks. They end up scoring, and really just such a deflating goal. It even started, like, if you roll back the tape on that one, sure, DeBrincat's kind of cutting into the middle, so his momentum's taking him. But as the puck, it was after Brady had that great stuff chance, probably JT Miller's best save of the night, right toe save. And then as it comes up the wall, I know, and maybe this is one of the drawbacks of having DeBrincat be one of your two quote unquote defensemen or last man back, the way they set up, but he just beelines right to where Shabbat is. So sure, the puck goes over Shabbat's stick, but if he's on his side of the ice, then it's an easier lane for him to go back and retrieve the puck. Instead, they're basically hugging at the blue line, and next thing you know, there's too much time and space down there. Just an ugly play overall, and symbolic of the problems that the Sens have had on the power play, where it's like they think they have a chance. I thought Batherson had a couple good looks right before that, but at the end of the day, it seems like every time they lose possession at the offensive blue line or it pops over their stick, it ends up in the back of the net. 7 shorthanded goals allowed since the All-Star break. That has to be a league high. Unofficial stat, that has to be a league high. They've scored 6 power play goals over that stretch as well. Is that when you thought this one was getting out of hand, or was it the 3-0 goal or the 4-0 goal? When did you kind of accept the idea that this was going to be a loss?
It was that shorthanded goal, Ross, because that's been kind of the sensitive breaking point for this team. Like, this team's success hinges on them having effective power plays. When you can't even muster any momentum on a power play, let alone you're getting scored on shorthanded, I think we could see this team just deflate. Like, it was just one of those here we go again moments. And at that point, I know it's only 2-0, but I was pretty certain I knew which way this game was going to go, and yeah, didn't go well.
Shout out the Brady Tkachuk, Tyler Myers battle that we saw throughout this game. That was a fun subplot.
Yeah, I'm glad though. Like, Brady's big boy and he can handle himself, but Tyler Myers is that's probably one guy I don't want Brady fighting up against. I'm not sure how he does in fights, but that is one monster of a dude.
Yeah, I actually want to find that out. But yeah, big guy, big reach, and I think it was smart of Myers to just kind of look at Brady and be like, "Dude, we're up 3-0. Why would I take this on when I don't have to?"
And also, like, guys, the answer for getting embarrassed and being down multiple goals can't be a Brady Tkachuk fight every single time. Like,
it's like
he just fought Jared Tenorti in a 5-0 loss. Like, what a waste of time that was. So, and I respect Brady for that, because that was the only highlight of that Chicago loss. Sorry, guys. I'm obviously very upset about the Chicago loss. I keep bringing it up. We said burn the tape, but it's bringing me a lot of sadness, and I can't move past it just yet. But what I'm getting at is, yeah, you can't rely on Brady Tkachuk to be a guy that's giving a momentum boosting fight every time. So you can't have these guys frustrating Brady and he lets it all out there. So I'm glad Brady didn't get involved in that one this time.
Frustrating loss. Last note before we get to our Sen Central standouts. Dude, how funny was Shabbat's penalty at the end of the game? I mean, at that point, once Giroux got the penalty, like, that was, to me, we can talk about that one first, but Shabbat literally grabbing Pettersson's stick out of his hand, realizing that it wasn't his own stick, and then just dropping it. That's all.
And then trying to argue to the ref, like, I was like, shabby buddy. Like, especially when you see that replay, he literally grabs it out of his hand. Like, I mean, I don't care what rules you go by, or if you're not a huge hockey fan, it's pretty clear that is not allowed. You can't do that. That should have been the chant going on in Vancouver there, because that was the most obvious thing. And at that point, Ross, like, you thought, I didn't, but maybe some Sens fans thought there was a little bit of hope there. You get a power play, 6-on-4 opportunity, Giroux penalty, and then a Chabot penalty. You go from 6-on-4 to being down 4-on-3. Like, my God.
Man, Giroux is just playing Carolina Hurricanes hockey. Remember we talked every time there's a puck in loose, the Hurricanes guy just like bangs down on your stick and tries to get open possession. But as soon as the player drops their defensive stick, you have to call it, right?
Especially in a high pressure moment like that. Like, tensions are high. The refs are really watching what's going on. There's a lot of hard forechecking happening. So they don't want there to be any kind of advantage one way or another. They want it as clean as possible. When you get a visual like that, the refs got to call it. I agree.
Yeah, Claude Giroux not happy about this one. Sens fans can't be happy either. They had an opportunity to make up ground in the wild card race, and they have let it slide away. The Sens lose 5-2. They get outshot 30-20 in this game. They go 0 for 3 on the power play. The PK goes 5 for 6, but again, that empty net goal at the end on the power play. Power play, shorthanded, even strength. Who cares? It's just a ... at the end of a frustrating night for the Ottawa Senators. Coming up, we'll get to a Sen Central standout each, touch on the wild card situation and what we're looking forward to 19 hours from now with the time jumping forward tonight and an 8 o'clock, 9, 8, 7. There's 3 time zones in play here. The game's in Mountain, I'm in Central, and the audience is in Eastern. So I'm not even going to try. The game's in 19 hours. I read that online.
It's at 9 Eastern, Ross.
Thanks. How'd you do on FanDuel tonight? Our friends at FanDuel sponsor the Postcast.
Well, Ross, I did have the disclaimer that the first to 5 shots hits almost consistently, and this was the almost part of that, as the Senators did not get it this time. But there is some bets that hit. Brady Tkachuk, we talked about it, Ross. He was going to come back with a big game. You had Levy lock him scoring. I leaned more towards the shots on goal. He did hit the shots on goal. So that's why I love FanDuel, Ross, because it's not all about wins and losses. There's so many fun props that you can get, and you can get it all on an app. FanDuel is the number 1 sportsbook in North America, the official sportsbook partner of the Locked On Podcast Network. And there's so many other ways you can have bigger chance at bigger payouts, like same game parlays. Check those out. That's a nice way to boost your account there. And if you're new to FanDuel, head to fanduel.com/lockedon, and there's lots of fun promotions always happening. Guys, make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
And today's episode is also brought to you by the Glebe Central Pub. All of our podcasts are brought to you by the Glebe Central Pub. And you can't be a pub without being synonymous with St. Paddy's Day. Coming up on March 17th, it's St. Paddy's Day, and it's at the Glebe Central Pub. Our friends at the Glebe Central Pub are having lots of prizes and giveaways. Live music starts at 1:30 p.m. and is going all the way until midnight. Doors open at 10 a.m. on Friday with an Irish food menu in full force. Yep. As a week, we have buses to the games on the 16th and 18th. So you have Glebe Central Pub shuttle to the Sens game on the 16th. We're giving away 2 tickets to that, by the way, on Monday's show, Colorado. Then you have St. Paddy's Day at the Glebe Central Pub, 10 a.m. to midnight. And then on the 18th, Sens Leafs Battle of Ontario in Ottawa. All great stuff, and it's brought to you by the Glebe Central Pub. So check them out at 779 Bank Street and let them know that Locked On Senators sent you. All right, Pilsy. So the Ottawa Senators lose 5-2, and a lot of talk in the chat here about Thomas Chabot. And you mentioned it, a hot button topic, and a guy who's easy to blame, plays a lot of minutes. But how many times, and we heard it at least 3 on the broadcast tonight, where it goes, puck rimmed quickly to Chabot, holds on to it, and then he goes from there. There's no immediacy to when he gets the puck, and it's so frustrating at times, man, especially when they're trailing in games. You want that instant attempt, like that snap pass, get it up the ice or make a move, and it just feels like these held on to pucks is giving away what could be opportunities offensively.
No, I agree with you. I think Thomas Chabot definitely, he's a little hesitant with the puck, and we mentioned it a couple times. It really seems like he slows the game down, unfortunately. And for a guy that's such a smooth skater, playing such big minutes, is relied upon to be a transition, carrying the puck up the ice type defenseman. you kind of need to, you're kind of like the pacemaker, right? Like you need to be setting the pace for how this line goes and how your shifts are going to go. And when you're constantly slowing things down, when you have guys like Timmy, guys like Batherson that are able to go up the wing with speed and create chances, if you're constantly stifling them and slowing them down, I think it does more harm than good, unfortunately. I know he's trying to be responsible when he's doing that, and he's not trying to give it away or make a quick mistake, but at some point, I think he's got to step up the pace a little bit here because that has been an issue for sure.
It's honestly like he's wearing weights in his skates, like ankle weights right now. It just feels like everything's in quicksand, everything's slow. The thought process isn't where it needs to be. And I hope he can get back to it, man, because he's an electric talent when he is at the top of his game. But I didn't think anybody really on the back end had a good night tonight. I think it should be an easy decision tomorrow for Eric Brandstrom to come back in the lineup. I thought outside of Jacob Chikrin's chance, he was not very good tonight. Killed 4 minutes in penalties and actually led all Sens defensemen. We need to get some stats research team on this. When's the last time a defenseman not named Thomas Chabot led the team in ice time in a single game?
Well, the asterisk would be when Chabot is not in the lineup, but yes.
Come on.
If you put that poll up, Ross, you know that's the first thing people would tell you.
I know, they totally would. All right, give me a Sens Central standout presented by the Glebe Central Pub on a 5-2 loss in Vancouver.
All right, well, I'm glad you passed it over to me because I pretty much only had one, and that's Brady Tkachuk. I thought he really set the tone for this game. He had a couple really good shots early on. 7 shots on goal, Ross, after having 0 for only the second time this season in last game. And not only does he just get pucks on net, 6 hits. Like, there was times where he was creating offense off a hard hit on the forecheck, and you love to see that. I think actually that's how the second goal started. The second goal in my notes, I've got Brady, hard hit on the forecheck, and then he gets it to Timmy. Timmy gets it to Holden, and Holden, of course, when that guy's got the puck on his stick, it's going in the net. So that's how that one all started. And I really thought that this was a great bounce back game from Brady here. So my only Sens Central standout is going to be Brady Tkachuk. He also finishes 50% in the dot. So that's all I got.
And he was entertaining with Tyler Myers in this game.
Yeah, exactly.
The third man in penalty must be dead, because Dakota Joshua just ripped off Brady after the gloves were off.
Yeah, I thought Brady was going to go after him too. Just like, come on, man. I'm in the zone here. Don't mess around with me like that. But again, like, imagine this loss leads to a Brady Tkachuk, Dakota Joshua fight. Like, he doesn't need to be fighting these scrubs.
100%. 100%. What's next? He's going to take on Lucic tomorrow for no reason at all?
Yeah, I mean, like, oh, man.
Oh, dude. So now you give me the tough task of finding a Sens Central standout in this game. I guess I'll go with Claude Giroux just for the storyline, more or less, that he's 11 points away. He breaks the shutout. He starts the offensive push. He would be an option, too, to go up on the first unit on the power play. That they need to change something. And how ridiculous is it? The Sens get that power play before, I believe, it was 4-2 at that point, right? And then when they get the power play late?
Yep, it's 4-2.
I mean, you're 0 for 17 on a stretch. Maybe like throw one different player out there?
Nothing.
Just to try it?
Nope.
That would be my recommendation. But Claude Giroux, 11 points away from 1,000. Fun story there. I ain't got much for that. I thought Batherson had a decent game. Yeah, not a whole lot else, man.
My next, and this is a quirky, not twerky. Jeez.
Postcast after dark.
This is a quirky Sens Central standout. It's got to be Eric Brandstrom. Like, if like Brandstrom is sitting there being like, what is going on here? How am I the odd man out here? When I thought he stringed together a good, consistent game recently. I thought him and Chikrin had looked like a good pair. That's the pair that, correct me if I'm wrong, Ross, but both of us kind of looked at as being like, hey, this is something we think could really work here, Chikrin and Brandstrom. And it's the second half of a back-to-back. I think DJ Smith, after a loss, he usually likes to get some fresh legs in. So I think Eric Brandstrom is looking at this game being like, okay, like, there is no way I'm not getting into the lineup tomorrow. I have to be getting in. So, and you talk about mixing up the power play. I know there's a lot of Branny truthers out there that really like his fancy stats when it comes to the power play. I'm not opposed to getting him on there. I know you got, I knew right as I said twerky Pillsy, I knew that was not the word I was looking for. Quirky. But I think this is a point. I know you got Spot, Sanderson, Chicken. You got defensemen that can be effective on the power play, but you rattled it off, Ross. What are they? 0 for 17? And how many shorthanded goals? 3?
Yeah, and haven't scored in 5 straight.
Yeah, so like let's mix it up here. So I'm all for Brandy coming in and getting some power play time here.
Yeah, anything. Just switch it up. Give me a different look because your power play is a -3 in the last couple of weeks and -1 since the All-Star game, which was over a month ago, Pillsy. Like we're going on a month and their power play's giving up more goals than they've scored. Absolutely unacceptable. I would say the numbers for Sogard, if you look at just on the spreadsheet, is pretty unacceptable, but it sucks because you watch the way he plays, and I have confidence that he's going to make saves. But then you look at it and another an 867 tonight, and it just sucks for him, I'm sure, confidence wise. And now we don't know what his status is, although we already said like Mando plays tomorrow either way, but it looked like he kind of tweaked something in the third period or second period, battled it out, made a couple good saves, then goes into the locker room. And I was surprised he started the third period, but man, they have to make sure, please, that he's not out long term.
I mean, that would just be so Sens, right? But I was pretty nervous too, Ross, especially when you're a big goalie like that. When you tweak something and I was worried it was a groin or a hamstring or something like that. I feel like it's just amplified when you're a bigger guy. So when he was doing those little pushes, also, Ross, I was a little disappointed with Brady Tkachuk. Sogard is trying to stretch and do his thing, and Brady's leaning up against the post with his feet in the crease, and Sogard's trying to do his pushes and his movements, and Brady's just like right there in the way watching. Like, geez, man, give him some goddamn space. Get out of the kid's crease there. But yeah, I was a little nervous when I saw that happen to Sogi, though, Ross, because we can't be going down to top 3 goalies injured here in a playoff wild card chase here. Ugh.
Yes, we'll find out more tomorrow. The Ottawa Senators playing the Calgary Flames on the road. The Sens are now 1-2 on this 5-game road trip. Games in Calgary and Edmonton still to come. And the playoff push, again, we're not overreacting to one game anymore, but it was a missed opportunity tonight because the Florida Panthers gained 1 point in the standings. The Buffalo Sabres gained 1 point in the standings. The Washington Capitals gained 2 points. They played against the Islanders, so the Islanders lose, but then Pittsburgh gets the win. So right now, Sens are 6 points out of the final playoff spot. Now they do have 3 games in hand, so still in a condition where they can control their own position, where they can control their own destiny, at least to the point where they tie. And then I think, anyways, tiebreaker, that's tomorrow's problem. But yeah, you look at it right here, Pilsy, and it certainly just seems like this would have been one where you're same as Monday, right? Like these games or Tuesday, whatever it was against Chicago, where these are the games where you can push ahead rather than just kind of keep tearing up with everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't that long ago, Ross. The Sens were, 3 points out?
Yeah.
And now you're looking at 6 points out. I know they got a couple games in hand here, but man, this is where things are getting so crucial, especially not even getting a loser point in this one. And you're watching teams like even Washington is getting ahead of them here. So,
but games in hand, the 3 teams ahead of them, the path to the final playoff spot, all have games in hand. But don't go look at the Sens schedule and see who those games are against.
Yeah, that's the thing. The Senators have a very, very tough schedule coming up. And it's late at night. That was a disappointing loss. So I'm not all doom and gloom. I'm not sitting here being like, well, it's over. Like this loss to the Canucks, that ends the season. That's the bookmark. I'm not trying to have that sort of impression, but it's disappointing when you do get a bit of help from the out-of-town scoreboard and you're not able to make any ground. You just kind of sit there. And if they were close, Ross, I don't think I would be that disappointed. But 5-0 loss to Chicago, 5-2 loss to the Vancouver Canucks. I mean, it's disheartening.
4-2 in meaningful games since that first one against Detroit. But Pilsy, the 2 losses have been in spectacular fashion, allowing 10 goals in the 2 losses and getting 2 garbage time goals, we'll call them, in return. Other than that, the Senators, I mean, the first 5 periods, they're shut out against the 2 worst teams they're going to play on this road trip. That just tells you what kind of advantage they're not taking with where they should be thriving. And instead, they're taking the extremely difficult path to relevance here. But still, the beauty is, as Pilsy said, they get to do it again tomorrow. Mando in goal. You put in Eric Brandstrom. Who comes out of the decor for you? Let's get some people in the chat too. Who are you taking out from tonight's 6?
I would like to give Hamonic a break here. I think we mentioned that it's not that I want to put the hammer down on Hammer. It's more just, hey, look, I think it would be beneficial to mix it up, and Holden scores a goal here. I'm not saying he had an incredible game or anything like that, but I think it's time to give Hamonic one healthy scratcher. I don't really care too much whether it's Holden or Hamonic Ross, but Brandy's got to get in here. Like if DJ doesn't put Brandstrom in the lineup next game, he better have a damn good explanation as to why, because I will just be flabbergasted if that's a decision he makes. And to keep it going, Ross, I don't know if you want me to snap it back to you or make another lineup change. You want to take the next one?
No, I'm just surprised that people in the chat are saying that Holden should be an easy choice out. I'm surprised by that. And some people make good points as well. Ferg saying that it would only leave one righty in the lineup if you take out Travis Hamonic. Artem Zub's your only right shot D, right? You kind of put yourself in that predicament the way that they've set up their decor right now and refusing to play JBD or Lassie in the mix here. But that's another story for another day. But do you think that has any impact on how DJ makes his lineup?
No, it's a fair point, and that is something I kind of glossed over there. But I mean, I'm talking about a 1-game sample size here. I'm not talking about a long stretch, so I think it could be sustainable. But DJ definitely has mentioned that he doesn't like having too many offhanded defensemen. So to only have Zub in there, that's probably something he's thinking of. And I mean, Hamonic's a DJ guy, so I could see him sticking to that.
A masterclass, them defending that rush. Dakota Joshua and Nix Ullman are the 2 guys who are burning you for a highlight reel 2-on-2 goal. That's a tough look for both Nick Holden mostly, and then Hamonic leaving his guy completely open, who ends up tapping it in backdoor. And Matthew makes a good point here. Hamonic's more of a PK guy as well, and you can just have him as a human shot blocking machine. I know Holden was up there a bit on the PK as well, wasn't he? But either way, they need some more skill injected in the lineup, and Brandy didn't deserve to come out in the first place. So time to get him back. What's the other move that you'd make? Julien Gauthier in for who?
Yeah, I'd like to see Julien Gauthier get back in the lineup here. I don't know. Maybe you sit Waddy down. Just that's an older guy. Second half of a back-to-back game, inject some youth and some speed into the lineup. But then, if you're DJ Smith, you're probably sitting there saying, "Hey, who's gonna be a combatant to go with Milan Lucic?" Right? And I'm not saying that Watson is a worthy opponent, but if you want anyone to do it, you don't want Lucic to do it. So that's where you get Waddy in there.
I literally just typed in Milan Lucic, Austin Watson, and the first video is Milan Lucic ragdolls Austin Watson in one-sided fight. That's the title.
But hey, I'd rather Watson take that ragdolling than Brady have to answer the bell there. So, but that's the thing. I feel like Julien Gauthier didn't really do anything to deserve to be taken out of the lineup either. So I wouldn't mind seeing him getting another chance.
Yeah. Dylan Gambrell.
You got to make changes.
Yeah. Well, unless it's the power play, I guess.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. That's number one key to victory tomorrow, is just like to wrap up with a quasi preview of tomorrow's game. Can we please try something else on the power play? There's too many good options. Remember how much fun we had in the offseason being like, how are they going to set up the power play? There's so many options. Dude, use them at your disposal. You have literally one player in the NHL, Evgeny Malkin, has more power play points than Claude Giroux in the last decade. And he's on the second unit and won't get off it. The last 10 years, nobody but one guy has more. But he needs to be on the second unit. Crazy. I would almost there's a part of me that would be almost happy to put Stützle in for Brassard on that unit and just call it your first.
Sure.
You probably want to put Brady in there too, just as your net front guy. Sure. But like that way you keep Pinto in the bumper and Sanderson and Chychrun with Brady and Timmy. There's your 5.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I don't hate it.
Anyways, hopefully there's some sort of change tomorrow. That'd be just fantastic. After a 5-2 loss for the Ottawa Senators. Really appreciate everyone. It's 1:30 in the morning, over 100 people vibing with us, venting with us. We vibe after wins, we vent after losses. It's the show for fans, by fans here. It's Locked On Senators. Pilsy, what are you hoping to see from the team and Mando tomorrow? Next time we chat with everyone, we'll be in the postcast after tomorrow night's game.
I guess I'll just echo your statements about the power play, Ross, because I really think that's where a lot of these games that the Sens have lost, it hinges on. Because let's face it, when you're a team that's so top heavy, one of the top power play percentages in the league, you need that to work to succeed. It's as simple as that. Like the Senators, their 5-on-5 game, it has gotten better. And would I say it's great? No, but it's gotten better. But when you're losing momentum, when you have a power play, it's so hard to get your team in the right mindset to keep battling. So I think if we see another shorthanded goal against on the Sens, wave the white towel, this game's done. So we can't have that.
Who's going to score the shorthanded goal for Calgary tomorrow? Call your shot.
I don't really know too many of their penalty killers. For some reason, Mangiapane was the first guy that popped in my head. I don't know if he kills penalties or not, but
that's the first name that popped into my head too.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Let's see. I've actually got it up here. Okay. How about a Nikita Zadorov shorthanded goal? He's played the most shorthanded. Zero goals.
Zadorov breakaway.
Mikhail Backlund has 2 shorthanded goals, only guy with more than 1 on Calgary. But that's a team that they haven't been playing well, but they're in a spot kind of like Ottawa where they're certainly under 50% in terms of chance of making the playoffs, but they're not dead. They can convince themselves that they're going to be able to make a push with a few more wins, just a few more wins. And the Sens are in the same boat. So it should be an entertaining game tomorrow at the very least.
It's got to be better than this one. Let's hope that. And the time change, Ross, you know I'm not a time change guy, but 9 p.m. start instead of 10 p.m. I'll spin that as a positive as well.
There you go. You heard it there from Brandon Piller. Thanks, everyone, for being with us in the chat. For more, you can check out the YouTube channel. We discussed how to fix the Sens power play. Hopefully, they didn't take any of our advice yet, but maybe they will one day. But you can go watch that and all of the episodes of Locked On Senators, great interviews, anything you've missed. You can go get your Sens fix on YouTube, Locked On Senators. Make sure you enter our contest for 2 100-level tickets to the Ottawa Senators home game against the Colorado Avalanche on March 16th. We will be announcing the winner on Monday's Locked On Senators. That's it for us tonight. Let's get some Go Sens Go in the chat. We appreciate everyone for vibing with us late on a Saturday night when the time changes forward. But appreciate you all. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been the Postcast presented by the Glebe Central Pub and the Locked On Podcast Network. But for the Glebe Central Pub, check them out, 779 Bank Street, and make sure you let them know that Locked On Senators sent you. It's the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.